Nick here, kicking things off in iOS 9.3. You're gonna see before we update, we have 5.6 gigabytes available, and you can see we're not updated yet. And here are the features, and I know you can't read it on this small screen, but there is quite a few features. You can go ahead and find those on Google somewhere, but there is quite a few, and we'll talk about those in this video. So let's go ahead and verify the update, and I'm gonna skip through it. In real time, to update the iPhone 5S, it was 269 megabytes, and it took about 30 minutes total for me to update my iPhone 5S here to iOS 9.3, and it says hello. And let's get into this baby and see how much space that well, it looks like we gained about 300 megabytes, so that is a plus. We did gain some space here. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and do our boot up test here in 3, 2, 1, and let's power this baby up. And once again, I'm just going to speed through the boot up, and in real time it took me about 30 seconds to boot the iPhone 5S up on iOS 9.3, so that's cool. Alright guys, so let's get into the first feature of the device. Hopping over into settings, we're going to scroll down until we see display settings, and you're going to see that there is a night shift mode, which is basically like F-Lux or blue light filter. They have been on Androids forever and PC forever, but finally Apple has included it in here, and you could schedule it. You can see from 10 a.m. to 7 a.m. that is out of the box. And you can see you can manually enable it, as well as change the temperature with this slider, which is very convenient, and this is a welcome feature to iOS 9.3 to save your eyes from destruction. Alright guys, the next feature in iOS 9.3 is the Notes application now has password protection. So basically you can secure all of those notes that you just easily write all the time when you get an idea. Well, you can now have a password using, a regular password, Touch ID, or a PIN, which is really cool here in iOS 9.3 for more security enhancements. The next major feature in iOS 9.3 is the News app got some upgrades, more curated content for you, as well as some liking and sharing. And overall, it's just a better, more refined, and revamped news experience here on iOS 9.3. So that should be enjoyable for many of you who are into the whole, reading news on your iPhone's Apple News application. Guys, the next thing we're going to talk about in iOS 9.3 is going to be the iBooks application. You can now sync iBooks as well as PDFs through iCloud, which makes this a seamless experience if you're using multiple Apple devices, which is totally awesome. Also, Apple Health got some updates where you have more activity tracking, as well as some enhancements with the Apple Watch, which is awesome here to include this in iOS 9.3. Guys, in this section, we're just going to talk about a general UI and just show you how it performs overall. We're just going to swipe through things all crazily and just check out if there's any stutter. We're basically doing a lag test here and seeing if we can find any lag here on the device, just going through some of the system UI tuners, and as well as some of all of this, just things swiping back and forth. Nothing too scientific, just to see if there's any lag, and it doesn't look like there is any to me. Let me know if you see any lag in the comments down below. Guys, in this section we're going to talk about an app switching test, and you can see I have no apps open, so let's get into these applications real quick. Let's get into Calculator, let's come back out, let's go into Instagram and let that load up. Let's come back out, let's go into Twitter, let's come back out of there, and you can see the iPhone 5S is a little bit slower than it used to be for some reason. Let's come back out of Amazon and let's go into eBay, and this may be because I just installed iOS 9.3. Let's go into YouTube, and it needs to get warmed up, and let that load up. And this could also be my Wi-Fi connection. Let's go into Clock, and let's come back out one more time. Let's go into Safari, but overall it's still performing quite well. I wouldn't say it's beastly like it once was when it first came out, but that's why they just announced the iPhone SE. Let's go into iTunes and let's see how that performs, and it's still doing pretty well here, But overall, I don't look too pleased with this, performance right out the gate. But let me know what you guys think of this performance so far. But we're just going to do a little multitasking switch here. And you can see the RAM management is pretty buttery smooth. No problems here, but actually opening the apps, that took quite a bit of time. But overall, the iPhone itself still feels pretty buttery smooth, and it operates just fine here on iOS 9.3. It's just I'm not overly impressed with its performance so far. But overall, it's not gonna be a deal breaker. I still like all the included new features here, even though it's not the fastest in the world. Alright guys, that pretty much wraps up this review on iOS 9.3 for the iPhone 5S. We went over all the major key features that I think are important for you guys to see on iOS 9.3 for the iPhone 5S, and we also went over some general performance, and you can see from the performance test that this hasn't been the quickest performance test that I've ever done on the iPhone 5S. Although I still think that you should go ahead and update to the iOS 9.3 just for all those major key features that we showed off here today. We're also going to do a low battery power mode test here on the iPhone 5S on the channel, so subscribe if you haven't done that, because that will be coming here soon on Everything Tech. And anyways, I think that this is a recommended upgrade, so go ahead and do it. Go ahead and leave this video a thumbs up if you haven't already. It is appreciated, and I will catch you all in the next episode. Subscribe if you haven't already. Be well and peace.